15.8 average.
So what do you look for in an air?
Big.
What do you look?
Well, it's dusty. Can't see anything. Dale, you want to come up the top here and I'll keep going. We'll keep unloading. Whoa, sinkhole. I mean, I helped Dad growing up, and I do my math homework in the grain cart, sleeping on the combine floor, and it's changed. Technology's changed dramatically. Everything's gotten a lot bigger, a lot more expensive. The oldest one I can remember was a 1660 with a 6-row corn head. And then we had a couple 2388s after that. Or went from a 6-row to a 12-row in my lifetime. You know, I think Dad's probably went from a 4-row or even less. A little tip back usually, because then, you know, it kind of tells you where you're at with your population. You know, I like to see the big ones around, you know, 18 around, something like that. But Mother Nature usually decides 300 bushel corn. 250 average around the end rows is pretty good. Well, the terrain, you know, compared to other places, we obviously can see all the terraces, and they basically slow down erosion, you know, slow the water down coming off the hillside. So it's kind of a berm, and then it either has to dump into a waterway, you know, that lets the water go down to a creek or something, or there'll be a riser in it that lets the water go to the creek instead of just cutting a ditch down the hill. There's gonna be a little ditch here. Just kind of hang tight with me. You know, so you have to farm everything kind of on a contour. So you have a lot of point rows, and, you know, even though, like, when we plant this with a 24-row planter, 60 foot wide, you know, there's very few places that you're using all 60 foot. The way you plant and the way you harvest it, you know, as far as the work in the field, you know, you don't just get to set an A-B line and go back and forth. You can use auto steer, like planting and stuff like that, but a lot of times you got markers, and it's just, you're farming around, and you got point rows, and, you know, it makes things take longer. You know, I think with a 12-row head, if it was flat and square, you know, guys probably cover 250 acres a day or 200 acres a day. You know, for us, gosh, if we can get close to 100 acres a day, I mean, we're really doing something. Oh, you know what? I was off one the other way too. See? I'm telling you, the old guess row. I need to, when I plant, I just need to like swing wide, so I got a big old gap. The way that we plant with 24-row planter, and we lay 8 down in the channel, and we put 16 off the backside. So we have to be able to flex the corn head over the terrace as we're running along it. You know, the flex, it's so smooth. It just, when you go over terraces, I mean, it just almost rolls with the ground, and it just kind of does it on its own. You know, it isn't like I'm over here messing with it. I mean, it just, once you got to do your calibrations, but once you do that, I mean, it just kind of just does it. And it looks a lot nicer, you know. Even if you could take a rigid head and get the ear, you would still have these tall stalks out there. At least now, you know, it's got a nice level, you know, with the ground. I mean, it just does its thing. You know, you can change your pressure of the pads underneath if you need it to be more aggressive. And I think this head's like got I think you guys call it the opti rolls knives, and then it's got interlocking fingers too that help pull that thing down. And I like those. They seem to tear the stalk up pretty nice, and, you know, because it doesn't just cut it. I mean, it kind of tears it as it goes through too. I'm curious to see it in the spring, how much more it's deteriorated versus, you know, what we'll end up shelling with our old head.
Hi, I'm Brian Hart, Territory Manager from Missouri and Illinois for MacDon. And today we're going to be showing you the rotary chopper option for the MacDon line of corn heads.
Brian Hart, he's a good friend of mine. He's the best man at my wedding. I've known him since I was, 10 years old probably. You know, we kind of talked to Brian about it a little bit when we heard you guys were coming out with one, and he basically reached out and said, hey, we got it if you'd like to run it. And we were like, yeah, absolutely. You know, we'd love to try it. Pretty much how it went about. It was pretty easy, really. I told Brian when he dropped it off, I said, you better get me a spare set of snouts. You never know. And I was running, I think I was on like the second day of running it. And I grenaded a center snout. And Brian had one there for me. He had one in the back of his truck.
So if you were talking with a farmer who's never done with a MacDon corn head, what would you tell them?
I would say it's worth a try, for sure.